welcome back to another Token Punch Lunch. Second time we've run it with that name, but as we said last time, it is the exact same show with just a new name wrapped over it. Well, we've got a new intro now. I hope that you enjoyed that. It's maybe not set in stone. I have to see and wait to see how it kind of settles in. I might be sprucing it up a little bit later in the future, but I did enjoy putting it together. Well, this show is going to be a little bit shorter because we had a full episode last week, and now we're having another one this week. Some of my contributors were kind of thrown off and confused. That's my fault, not theirs. So we'll be back on track in the next couple of weeks, but this one's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode. So hey, maybe those of you who have been asking for it, you're going to be ecstatic. But for those of you who are expecting a normal, regular length show, it's just not going to happen this week. But I do have a lot of great episodes and segments ready for you to go. So those that were able to get another segment in this week actually did a really good job. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to it, shall we?
Hi, this is Ambie from Boardgame Blitz, and this is Strategically Thematic, a segment where I talk about theme in different strategic games. This time, I'm talking about modern art. In modern art, you're playing as a museum, trying to collect and sell different pieces of art, which are represented by different cards. The art's from 5 different artists, and each card has a different piece of art on it. The game takes place over 4 rounds. In each round, players alternate auctioning off pieces of art by playing them down, and other players bid on them. There's different types of auctions though, like an open auction or a hidden auction, or even a double auction, where you can sell 2 pieces of art instead of 1. And that makes it pretty interesting and fun to have different types of auctions. So far, it doesn't sound that thematic since it's just auctioning off a bunch of different pieces of art. But I think the theme shows itself when you sell the art at the end of each round. During the rounds, you don't know how much each piece of art will be worth, but as more art from the same artist gets played and sold, that artist becomes more popular, which makes their art more in demand and a higher price. So the way the pricing works is you compare the amount of art by each artist, and whoever has the most will be worth the most points, and whoever has the least will not be worth anything, because there's only so much art that people can buy, and they'll be interested in the more popular artists. The popularity of the artists also carries over from round to round. So in the 4th round, an artist that was popular earlier on will still be worth more for the new paintings, because now that artist is very popular. But a new artist that just comes in the 4th round and hasn't been seen at all in the previous rounds won't be worth that much because no one knows about them, which makes sense with the theme. Modern art is a lot of fun with the auctioning and bidding for something where you don't know the price of it until the end of the round, so you're trying to figure out how much you want to pay for this art and speculating on the art prices. A lot of people like the game, and it actually got a bunch of different reprints recently. So if you want to try it out, you can pick the one that has the best art. Thanks for watching Strategically Thematic. Let me know what you think in the comments.
This is Rory Candy from Epic Gaming Night, and this is why it's there. Where I take a look at a game in my collection and see why it's stuck around on my shelves. So today I'm going to be taking a look at a game with superheroes and all sorts of different IP characters fighting against each other on a grid map, and that is HeroClix. I started playing HeroClix way back in the day, and I had a blast playing it with just a few of my childhood friends because the game came out forever ago, and I started playing right after it first came out. And then after I moved out of my parents' house, I actually found a few game stores that had lots of local tournaments, and I got super big into the HeroClix scene in the area. I ended up going to tournaments. There would be 2 different comic book shops that would have tournaments. I'd go from one to the other playing in all sorts of different tournaments and had a ton of fun collecting the different heroes and trying to build the perfect team of superheroes. And then have tons of themed nights, well, you can only do Marvel this week, you can only do DC this week, or you can only do people who have this sort of special ability. That's another cool thing about the game, is there's so many different special abilities that can make those heroes feel like the heroes from the comic book. So you have Superman that's really hard to hit and super fast, or you have Batman who's really smart and can outwit people, or you have Wolverine who has claws slashing people up. And it's really cool to see these different comic book characters come and like cross platform and fight each other, so you can do those battles where it's like, oh, which superhero really is better. It's got a whole like point buy system where you're trying to like, different characters cost different points. So Superman might cost like 300 points, and then you get like an X-Men team where each of them are 50. So you get to have this whole team of X-Men going up against Superman. So they kind of like balance the points out that way. And I've really enjoyed in different miniatures games and tactical games, that whole army building aspect of figuring those guys out. I've had tons of fun just playing this game with friends around the table, super casual, like giant battle royale games, clashing up against each other and seeing whose heroes can last, trying to talk them in like, oh man, Superman's over there, we need to take him out, because if we don't take out Superman, he's gonna smash all of us, so let's all focus on him and fight together. It becomes like a negotiation game of trying to figure out who is the biggest threat at the table, trying to figure out who we need to fight first and who's currently winning. Let's take out the leader. So tons of fun with HeroClix there, and I've just had a lot of fun. I don't really collect a ton of it. I don't really buy a bunch of the booster packs when they come out, but I just have like a few small figures that if friends want to come over and play HeroClix, we can just draft the characters. Oh, I like this character. Oh, I like some of the Street Fighter characters. Oh, I like some Ninja Turtles. We can just put them all together and have like a cool little casual battle. So even if you're not into the whole collectible aspects of HeroClix, you can totally play this game casually and just have fun and just play it whenever. And it's just cool, just the way that the dice work and the grid movement really appeals to me. So HeroClix is stuck around, and I'm super excited. Hopefully get it to play some more, maybe at Dice Tower Con. So if you want to play HeroClix at Dice Tower Con, hit me up. And this has been Why It's There, and I'll see you on the next one.
Hey, welcome to Token Punch Lunch. My name is Bobby, and this is these Totally Geeky Games, where I make recommendations of games for those geeky friends of ours with interests outside of our hobby. Our hobby being tabletop board and card games, and the interest this week being the YouTube channel Smosh. Now, I thought for the next couple of weeks that I could cover various YouTube channels, and Smosh was the first one that came to mind. Smosh, if you haven't heard of them, they're a YouTube channel that started probably over a decade ago by a couple of guys. I think they might have been in high school or college when they started it. And it started as a sketch comedy channel. It's since over the years developed into and kind of offshooted into a couple of different channels, and they still do a lot of sketch comedy, but needless to say, they have a lot of other content, and one of the things they do a lot is tabletop board and card games. But a few games that they have played: Sheriff of Nottingham. Smosh has played Sheriff of Nottingham a couple of times. Sheriff of Nottingham is a Dice Tower Essentials game. So it's a game that gets a lot of love on this channel, but it also gets some love on that channel as well. So if you have a friend that's a Smosh fan and they've watched the Sheriff of Nottingham playthrough, I might introduce them to the game itself. And that's a fun game that they might enjoy. Smosh also had a couple of horror-themed episodes where they played scary games. One of them being Betrayal at House on the Hill, which obviously I might introduce them to the game itself, or maybe its variation, Betrayal at Boulder's Gate. They also played Zombicide, so obviously I might introduce them to Zombicide, the game itself, or of course the variation Zombicide Black Plague. They also had a couple Western themed episodes. They played Bang the card game. And if you have a friend that watched that playthrough and you think they might enjoy the game, I might introduce them to Bang the dice game first. Just explain to them it's pretty much the same game, just a bit more streamlined. And they also have a really fun episode where they played Colt Express. So if you have a friend that's a Smosh fan, they've watched the Colt Express playthrough and they think, wow, that's a really fun programming game. And the components are three-dimensional and you get to move little meeples around. I might introduce them to the game itself. It's pretty affordable at this point. So yeah, introduce them to Colt Express, have fun, and it's a good gateway level game as well. So those are some games that I would introduce to people that I know that are fans of the Smosh YouTube channel. If you know fans of the Smosh YouTube channel, or if you yourself are a fan of the channel, excuse me, then what games would you recommend? Let me know in the comments, and until next time, my name is Bobby, and this has been these Totally Geeky Games on Token Punch Lunch. Bye.
Hey folks, welcome back to another Just Missed It. Now usually on Just Missed It segments, I show you a game that I just don't like. For one reason or another, it just missed me liking it in some way, shape, or form. Well, this week it's going to be a little bit different because I'm going to show you a game that just missed the mark of me really liking it. I like it just fine, and it is this game right here, Sorcerer and Stones. Now, Sorcerer and Stones is a game that has a little bit of a history behind it because I actually got my first review copy at Essen last year. Was really excited about it, took it back to the room that night, popped it open, missing some components. Okay, no big deal. We're still at Essen. Just go back to the TBD booth that was just right down the hall from where we were at Essen, and ask them for another one. Just tell them. So we did that. Went back. They took a review copy, a demo copy rather, that they had, pieced it together, kind of Frankenstein a couple of things here and there, and boom, there you go. I was like, okay, good. We should be fine. Put it away. Got back to Florida, missing one of the region tiles, you know, one of the tiles that has to hold the stones and everything like that. And oh man, so really disappointed, but we were just at Origins and Deepwater Games has now picked up Emperor S4 stuff, and they're going to be distributing it here in America and many parts of the rest of the world. So they were able to give me their copy, as you can see here, Deepwater Games, and it was complete, so I finally got to play it. We actually played it at Origins and a couple times after that, so really enjoyed it. Now, the main thing, the thing that just makes it miss it on this particular game is the analysis paralysis. Now, you might be saying, as many people have, that's not a game problem. And you're right, it usually isn't. It's the people playing the game. But games can be prone to have that problem, or be prone to have players encounter that problem within the game. And I think this is one of them because the board is changing so much. This one's getting twisted. This one's getting moved over here. These two are getting placed. These two stones are getting swapped. All of that kind of stuff is happening so much that you really can't plan your turn until it comes down to your actual turn, and nobody's going to mess with it. You can see how the board is and then manipulate the board the way you want. And that's really my only hang up about this game, is that it will make people be prone to analyze their turn a little bit more than they possibly should, because at the end of the day, it's just a game, right? And I know we all want to do the best that we possibly can do at whatever we're doing, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But this game makes it a little bit more easy to spend too much time analyzing what you're going to do on your turn. And because of that, it just missed the mark of being a game that I'm really enjoy. I still really enjoy it, and it is very fun, but it could have been so much better if there had been some other mechanism employed where I could plan my turn ahead a little bit more than just, hey, it's the beginning of my turn. So that's it for Just Missed It. A little bit of a different segment this week, but this is a great game. You should go out and give it a try, especially if you don't mind the whole analysis paralysis thing that I described. Let's get back to the rest of your lunch.
Hi, welcome to Board Game Opinions. My name's Steve Rain.
I'm Jonathan Hicks.
And I'm Whittle. And our golden oldie this month is Kingsburg. It's been around for at least 10 years, and Kingsburg is a dice placement game where the king has sent you to the edges of his realm. He's asking you to build up his realm, expand his realm, but towards the winter, the monsters come and you've got to fight them off. And at heart, Kingsburg's played over multiple years, multiple rounds, but at heart, it's a dice placement game, so everyone in the game rolls their dice. You look at who's rolled the lowest. In this case, it's Mark. Mark's rolled 9. Mark would go first. Jonathan's rolled 12, and Jonathan will go second. And the king's got lots of advisors in the realm. He's got lots of these advisors that have different numbers assigned to him. On Jonathan and Mark's turn, because he goes first, he rolled the lowest, he hasn't got as good dice, but he does get first grabs. Mark might claim, for example, the 6. He puts pips equal to 6 on the 6th spot, and it's Jonathan's go. Jonathan might claim 10. Then Mark's go again. You keep going till the place all the dice. He's going to claim the 2. And Jonathan's got 2 left.
Oh no!
Mark's blocked it. This is a very good demonstration. Mark's blocked it, so Jonathan doesn't get to use that dice. So not only are you trying to grab the best spots for you, you're trying to make sure you grab as many spots as you can. Then starting with the 1 going all the way up to the 18, you claim the stuff. So Mark will take the 2 off, get some gold. Mark will take the 6 off, swap that gold for a stone in the wood. And Jonathan would get some military strength, and you get to have a look at the monster that's coming. So each season, you kind of do that 3 times each season, you collect some resources, and what you're trying to do, the aim of the game is to collect points. You do this a lot of the time by mainly building buildings. You've got a host of buildings to build, but you can't build the better buildings till the earlier ones have been built. You've got kind of 5 rows, 1 row kind of improves your defence, 1 row kind of scores you a lot of points, 1 row helps you build other buildings a bit cheaper, and each round, each time you collect some resources, you can build 1 building. Then you go through, you fight the monster at the end of the year, and if you beat the monster, you get some stuff. Otherwise, the monster kind of takes stuff off you. And you do that for 5 years, and whoever's got the most points at the end of 5 years is the winner. What do we think?
I think it's a great kind of entry Euro. It's sort of basic resource management, essentially. There's just 3 resources, and it's very clear on the sheet. I mean, the sheets do look quite complicated, there's a lot of stuff in it, but when you look at the individual bits, it's very straightforward. I want to build an inn, oh, I need 1 gold and 1 wood. Great, I'll go here and get my gold and I'll get my wood, and then I build my building. So to start with, it's very simple, because you can only build them in the left-hand column, and then it gradually builds up and you start to use other abilities and it gets more complicated. But as an entry level into kind of resource Euro style gaming, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is resource collection and conversion, but I think I enjoy the engine as you get more buildings. You do feel like you are slowly building something. There is an engine, so you can replay that I am building buildings. There's enough connection, even though it's dice, but the dice work kind of came out about similar time to Alien Frontiers, and they've both got that whole sort of, that earlier sort of genre of dice placement, and it works well.
Yeah, I think even if you roll low, you get to go first. So the person who rolls the best goes last. So by the time it gets them, if in a 5-player game, 4 people have taken spots that they might have wanted themselves. So that's quite a nice way of kind of balancing it. It's not necessarily to take it in turns to go first. That's quite a nice way of mitigating what is potentially a poor roll.
Yeah, there are several different ways that it helps you to mitigate bad dice. One of the buildings helps you adjust your dice slightly. There are these tokens you can use to add or subtract 2 from one of your dice. So there's various ways. It's not as lucky as it might first appear when you're just rolling the dice.
Mm-hmm. I really like it. It's probably the first dice placement game I played, actually, in terms of, like, it's not a worker placement, but the dice pips kind of affect where you can go. And that monster, even if someone's kind of leading away with it, if they don't get enough defence, that monster can kind of hit them at the end and cause a swing.
I mean, it's certainly good enough to get a 2nd edition recently, so it's still a powerhouse.
I played it a lot, but it's one of those I'm very happy to still play, whether it's with family members or other gamers. You can kind of take it to the next level if you become very serious about competing and trying to block each other for resources. That works really well.
There's still enough tactics in this game to kind of benefit anyone who's played it before. And if you've got the game and you haven't tried the expansion, I think the expansion's great too.
Oh yeah.
We've been Board Game Opinions, and that's been Kingsburg.
Hey gamers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and I'm here to bring you another episode of Solo-Thrash, Amerithrash gaming for those of us who like to play alone. Except, today I'm going to do something different. In honor of the fact that I'm going to Dice TerraCon and actually playing with other humans for once, I'm going to tell you the truth about my most played games. True confession time, out of my top 3 most played games, only one of them can be played solo, and that's not actually how I get my most plays in. Number 3 on my most played games list is Star Realms. And the reason I have this big box is because my boyfriend and I have taken this to so many coffee shops and played it together so many times that we wore out the original box. So I have this nice box now. And although Star Realms does have some solo scenarios, it doesn't have that many, but I'm waiting for that to change. I did kickstart the Frontiers expansion, and I'm just waiting for more solo segments to come in. But even as it is, Star Realms is my #1 date game. It's the game I played the most times with my boyfriend. And I've also started to get into the app. So solo or not, Star Realms is definitely on the top played list. My second most played game is actually Splendor. Can you see the wear starting on the corners of the box? This game has been played by so many students in my classroom over the years, partially because it's really easy to teach, and partially because it's just a really addictive game. I've had kids who would not talk to me or like do anything for me in the classroom, and then I taught them Splendor, and it was like suddenly we were the best friends in the world. This game is magic. As you can see, I never sleeve the cards, so they're starting to look a little bit worse for wear. And even the chips are starting to show just the smallest signs of love. And weirdly enough, my most played game of all time ever in my whole life is probably Ivanhoe by Rainer Knizia. So this is a game that my high school European history and Model UN teacher had in his classroom. So we would all finish our work and just play Ivanhoe for probably more time than any of us actually wants to admit. So it was a game I loved in high school. And then when I became a high school teacher, my boyfriend, who's awesome, found a copy of it for me and gave it to me for Christmas. And now I play it with my students and they ask for it all the time. It's a great way to like play out, you know, an early release day or a day at the end of the year or a game club day because kids love it. People love it. It's a really good beer and pretzels game when you're with adults or, you know, a Coke and pretzels game if you're with kids. But you can even see on the cards that this game is living a long and happy life. And they're, you know, some of the victory chips and stuff aren't even in the box anymore. I have no idea where they went. They're probably still somewhere in North Carolina from before I moved. But that doesn't change the fact that Ivanhoe is probably my all-time most played game. It's not a solo game. It's not even that popular a game. And it's really amazing the ones that really become part of your life. So I guess I did this segment today just to show y'all that even though I am primarily a solo gamer in terms of how I spend most of my game time, the games that I come back to again and again aren't necessarily solo games at all. And actually, it sort of surprised me to look over my collection and realize which of the games were really the ones that saw the most time on my table. So what are your standby games? And is there anything that's surprising? Leave us a comment, and happy gaming.
This is Tim Jennette the Metal Meeple, and this is the Budget Board Game Breakdown. So if you tuned in last episode, we were talking about math trading, and if you're interested in doing a math trade, now is the best time because the math trade for Gen Con 2018 has went up. It's live. It's going to be done through Abacorn, which is the other math trading program. I've only used this one time, but I'm going to try to prep you as much as I can. If you want all the details, though, go to BoardGameGeek.com. You want to click on the forums and then go to trades. Now, under here, you're going to skip the pinned posts, and then under that, you'll see one that says Gen Con 2018 No Ship Math Trade. Click on there. It has all the details. Basically, it's on abacorn.com. It's abecorn.com. You'll have to create an account and stuff, and there's tutorials. I believe there's video tutorials on this. They're really well done, very short and to the point. But basically, once you go on there, you're going to see the Gen Con 2018 thing inside of Abacorn as well that you click on and join. So this is a little bit different than the online want list generator. The submission window is open at all times, meaning that when you go in, you add your games, you can immediately start saying, I want to trade this for this with other people, whereas in the other one, you have to wait until the submission window and then do the trade window and then it's final or whatever. But in this, you can do all that at once. Now it could creep up on you though, because it's going to end on July 19th at midnight. I believe that's Eastern. So July 19th, that's only 2 or 3 weeks away. So you don't have that much time in comparison to most of the other math trades, but it's still plenty of time as long as you go through your collection and write down what you want. Just a couple of tips real quick. If you're going to, when you write down your descriptions, you want to add the condition. All this is obviously in the post on the forum, but your condition is super important. You're going to have better trades if you list exactly what your game has or you know, whatever is going on with it. So if you have whitening around the edges of your box, you can say whitening due to shelf wear or typical shelf wear, things like that. You want to rate the quality of it, you know, a good, fair, okay, excellent, shrink wrapped, or new and shrink, whatever. And you also want to put, like, maybe if you sleeved your cards, but you're not including the sleeves, that's also important to note, you know, because I've clicked on games before where it's like cards were sleeved before play, but it's no sleeves included. That just means the game was well taken care of. I mean, it just shows you much about that, you know, the owner of the game. No pets or pet-free home or smoke-free home. Those are also important. That's also important for you to read this information from other people, because they sometimes will leave that information out, and it's slightly a red flag because you don't know what you're going to get. And if you get a game that's in bad condition and they didn't mention anything, it's kind of on you. The other thing is you also want to be careful about promos. Promos are really easily mistaken for the actual game. Most of the time people will put promos on there by themselves, or they'll add them as a sweetener to the actual game. Sweeteners you'll see in there, you can basically add one game and then tack a bunch of games on it if you want to add a sweetener. People will usually do this for like games that aren't very good, so they'll bundle them up in like a 4 or 5 pack combo and trade it for one good game. Some people might be like, oh, I might want to try a couple of those out, you know. So sweeteners are really cool to do. But anyway, so the Abacorn is going to... You just want to get on there and create the accounts. Like I said, you'll be able to see stuff in real time. It has single-click duplicate protection, so if you want to go after like maybe 5 different people's copy of one game, it's going to make it to where it'll only give you one copy rather than, you know, you might get all 5 of them for some reason. So let me see if I have anything else on here. Oh, the meetup is going to be at Gen Con on Friday the 3rd at 8 a.m. at Union Station Grand Hall, which is simply just across the street, I think, from the north side of the building in that hotel. If you can't make that meetup, it's important to note that on your trades, and more importantly, it is also worth mentioning that it's not necessary to meet up at that or to do all your trades at that time. A lot of people message each other on Board Game Geek with their cell phone numbers or saying, hey, I'm going to be at this specific booth doing volunteer work or whatever, so you can just drop it off whenever and stuff. So a lot of trades will happen outside of this window. It's easier if you can just go here and do it all at one time, but sometimes that's just not possible. You do want to bring a sign, like a 8.5 by 11 with a marker on it, a big thick marker, or like maybe a poster board or something. You can get creative. But if you have any questions, please comment on the forum on Board Game Geek or comment below and I'll try to answer them as well, or somebody else might, because a lot of these people are super, super helpful when it comes to new people in math trading. So it's really rewarding. Anything you have that you think that would not trade, put it on there. You'll be surprised. So if you've got any questions, email me at timjennette@gmail.com. Follow me on social media and check out my podcast, Meeple Core. Till next time, keep on rocking and rolling dice.
Hey, hello there, and welcome to another Boards Beyond the Board. A segment where we talk about games that are language independent or have very little language dependence. And one of the best styles to introduce to people that doesn't have a lot of rules and barely any reading whatsoever are dexterity games. And today we're going to take a look at Kung Fu Zoo, a dice flicking game. In Kung Fu Zoo, the box will turn into this arena where different animals will compete to see who is the master of Kung Fu of the forest. Each animal will have beautifully carved dice. And as you can see, you have, it's almost like the body of the animal. So this is the back, face, tail, the sides, and then the bottom where its legs up. So the cage or the arena have different dots on the edges here. Hopefully you can see that enough. And that's typically where you're going to flick your die into the arena. And the idea is that you're trying to knock all your opponents inside of the hole and getting them out of the match. So you can put your die anywhere on those little spots, as I said. Let's say I'll try to get the elephant in there. No, missed it. Next player goes. And, that's bad. I'm terrible. There you go. And then the elephant goes. And so forth. So when all the dice are inside of the arena, I have different options. So the idea is that I'm going to pick one of my die to flick back into the arena. But here how the rules work. If I have a face-up die, I can play not only from the dot, but anywhere on the edge of the arena. If I have a tail or a side, I can only flick from this edge dot here. Now, if your animal it's on its back or has its feet up, you cannot use it. It's called it's stunned. You cannot move, you cannot touch that die. So that animal is stunned for that round. Now remember that each animal has a specific powers that they can use. Like I was saying before, like the elephant, as long as it's not stunned, you can actually flick right from where it's sitting in there. So we go on and on several rounds until everybody gets knocked into the arena, or off the arena I should say, and into the holes there. If you get your die out of the arena, you lose that animal is gone. Now if you flick somebody else's die out of the arena, that guy just gets to put their die anywhere back into the arena. So the only way to eliminate players is making sure they get pushed into the holes in there, and then they are out of the game. The game is very quick, play in 10 minutes or less, but it's a lot of fun. The beauty of Kung Fu Zoo is its simplicity. It's basically you're flicking dice off the edge of the board, and I'm telling you, we had a blast. I've played with grown-ups, I've played with a bunch of kids. They all love the game. It's just, there's something about knocking each other into that hole that really is appealing, and then the dice are beautiful, well made, so you can flip them on the right direction to get your personal power. I mean, I highly recommend it. It's a great game you can bring along. I know it's not your small pocket size, but man, the amount of fun you have out of it, it's worth to carry around. Carrying this with me. Hey, and don't forget, keep punching those tokens. All right, well, that's it for another Token Punch Lunch. I want to thank you guys and gals for joining us here, taking time out of your day to spend a little bit of it with us. I do want to thank all of my contributors, too. They do a great job. And you know what? For those who didn't get their segment in this week, that's just fine. You probably deserved the break, and I'm happy to give it to you. Not that I would have been able to make you do it anyway. You're volunteer contributors, so Anyway, well, I hope that you guys enjoyed the episodes. That's why we are doing it. We want to provide content that is both informative, entertaining, and, well, yeah, just fun. So, thanks for joining us. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you, contributors. Always appreciate you guys. And we'll see everyone on the flip side.
Fatality.